everyone. Welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers, seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Melissa, you know what I really struggle with?
What?
Telling people I love them.
Yeah, I know you do.
Oh, don't agree so quickly.
Oh, sorry. Oh, tell me more about that.
Well,
That's it.
I think it's an interesting thing. And when I was thinking about it in like a lot of different ways, like, is it sort of like a male-female thing? Is it a childhood upbringing thing? Is it a Midwest thing? Is it a cultural thing? Like what? Like there's a lot of elements that probably go into it. And I just feel
Introvert
like,
and extrovert.
oh yeah, right? People who are like much more expressive, right, than others.
Yeah, that's very interesting,
But
actually.
I
I'm
think
just,
I don't know if it's just me or lots of other people struggle with that too.
oh my goodness, that's a universal problem. That's a universal issue, I think.
Mm,
I wait, can I like just tell everybody how we got to this topic?
sure.
Because, okay, so everybody, we have this long list of ideas that we always keep and we add to, like what we're going to talk about with our podcast. We never run out of ideas. Like the list keeps getting longer and we just think we're never going to get to it. There are two topics on the list that I always love because you phrased them. And what we just both add, topics when we think of them. And this one always cracked me up because what you named it is I love you, man, after 3 drinks.
Oh yeah, after 3 drinks.
And I just loved that.
Yeah.
Actually, to
That
the point where I'm a little sad we're going to be finishing this because it'll come off the list.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. That particular like podcast idea session was like one I had when I was like stuck somewhere traveling.
Yeah, you
And I was
were.
just like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. I know because you had written a whole bunch of thoughts about it
Yeah.
in addition, which I thought were really, really cool. And I
All
actually
right. What
have
were
them
those
here.
thoughts?
Yep.
Like, let's reminded me of those thoughts.
Okay, so the topic is being able to express our love for someone, but the
hmm
way you went into it was, I love you, man, after 3 drinks. And then your question that you asked right away was, why does it take alcohol to lower our inhibitions to make us speak our true feelings?
hmm
Okay. Do you want me to read all of them or just do you
Yeah,
want to
let's
riff
go
on
for it.
this?
Let's just
Okay.
go for the
Can,
whole thing and we'll
okay.
pick
Okay.
some.
Can I tell someone that I love them in a day-to-day situation? And I
Mm.
would add in a work situation too. That's super
hmm
interesting. Why do I have a hard time remembering to tell my mom that I love her?
Hi, Mom. I love you.
Hi, Mrs. Parker. I love you too. Okay. Is love a sign of weakness? Seems like it should be the opposite.
hmm
Then you had, so there's 2 more. Sponsoring feelings. We know there's only 2. Love being one and fear being the other. And then you ended with this very profound one, which is why is projecting love rooted in fear?
Mm.
It's life's great oxymoron.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that whole topic is really interesting.
That
How many
was profound.
How many times have you been in a bar and you have seen someone that had 3 or 4 glasses of truth serum
hmm
or more and were making a complete ass out of themselves? How
Yeah,
many?
but plenty of times. I
Yeah,
can't count that many
right,
times.
right.
But that's
But
such a scenario, right? Like
yeah,
everyone's together, you're hanging out with your friends,
yeah,
everyone's had a few drinks, and then it's just like a huge love fest. Like
I
everyone loves
know.
everyone, they're hanging all over each other, and
I
you
know.
know, that is funny, right?
It is.
It takes that lower inhibitions to get you to that place. But why can't you be in that place all the time, right?
Yeah,
There's nothing that says that you shouldn't be.
right. Yeah. And of course, I'm going right to the the extreme version of sloppy drunk. I don't mean that. There is something right in the middle of that. And that's exactly right. It's like where you do feel so much safer to say what's really on your mind. And I
Hmm.
think it is a safety thing. It is a safety thing.
Melissa and I are huge self-awareness nerds. We've been working on this stuff for a really long time, and we love talking about it and sharing it with all of you. We've actually brought all of the stuff we've made into an online course, and we think it's really great. The course starts by learning about yourself and how your mind-body connection works. It dives into your thoughts and feelings, and then helps you learn how to become your true, authentic self. Start your journey today. Head to theselfawarenessjourney.com to learn more and sign up. So why would it be a safety thing? Because like if you tell someone you love them
Mm-hmm.
and they don't reciprocate that,
Mm-hmm.
that's scary,
Yeah.
right?
Is
That's
it?
like a date. That's like that sounds like a Seinfeld episode. I think that was a Seinfeld episode, right? Where you throw the I love you out there to the person you're dating and they just say, all right, let's go get some pizza.
Oh my. Jerry Seinfeld is so amazing taking the human conditioning and translating it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But yeah, he took this exact same topic and turned it into an entire show
Yeah.
about people
Oh,
being afraid. Well, you and I have talked a little bit about my comfort level in telling people how I feel, but I
hmm.
wasn't always like that before. But I just decided for me, I never wanted anyone that was close to me to not know how I felt.
Mm.
I just did it. If I got hit by a bus tomorrow, and I know someone that has a bus company, and every time I say that, I always feel like I have to apologize because he'd always say, "Why does it have to be a bus?"
Yeah. Buses are safe.
If something happened to me tomorrow, I would never, ever want to have left anything unsaid.
Hmm.
Right. So for me, I have kind of like almost forced myself to get more comfortable. But you're right. People are not comfortable. Those 3 words are very, very powerful words. And I even have a girlfriend who is one of my best friends. And in her family, they didn't say those words.
Mm.
Did they say that did your parents say that to
Hmm.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, again, knowing that my mom's definitely listening to this episode to get myself in trouble. But yes, definitely we did as when I was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, let me ask you. So you wrote, "Can I tell someone that I love them in a day-to-day situation?" What's your
Hmm.
answer?
No. My answer
Right.
is no, I can't.
So, okay, I got to just paint the visual right now because whenever we get into some of these conversations that become slightly uncomfortable, your chair starts spinning,
Yeah, I know.
spinning,
It probably makes the
spinning.
audio get all funny
No,
too.
I don't
No?
think it does,
Okay.
but no, because you've learned how to keep your face right
Right.
next to the mic.
Right. Yeah. Just spin my torso. Well, I think there's a couple things happening with that,
Yeah.
especially from like there is a male,
Hmm.
there's certainly from the male perspective,
Yeah, yeah.
like that's not really like an encouraged thing to say. Like I
Mhm.
feel like as
Yeah, yeah.
a male, like you're just not really encouraged to share that, to say
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
words and express those feelings because somehow, like I said, it's perceived as like a weakness,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really interesting. But no, like I don't run around telling people I love them, right?
Right.
I
Mhm.
mean, even like I wrote, like I'll still struggle to even say it to my mom when we hang up the phone. For some
Mhm.
reason, I'm 45. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I love my mom. Like, why wouldn't I just tell her that? You know? But I don't know what it is. It's something that does not. It doesn't feel natural.
It doesn't
Just
feel natural. Does it
yeah.
feel Would you like, just speaking because you're a male and I'm a female, I'm legitimately asking this. Does it feel like does it feel like you could be perceived in a certain way if you did that? Like, what's the pervasive reason why? Is it just societal norms? Like, what's the pervasive reason?
Yeah, that's a good question. It does feel a little scary.
Hmm. And do you think it's scary because you will be thought of differently or because you will look vulnerable
Yeah,
or
right. Like there's so much I would say like maybe I don't know how it is now, but maybe even growing up when
Mm,
I grew up, there was like a lot of like tough guy, macho. Like if
Mhm.
you're macho and tough, you just don't say that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have
Yeah.
a heart tattoo that says mom, but you can't say I love you, right?
Oh my gosh, that's
But
so
there
funny.
is like I think there is like a male macho bravado thing
Yeah.
that in our culture that says
Mhm.
like you don't run around and say I love you to people.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not, like, trying to put you on the spot, right, like, to come up
No,
I'm just curious what your
that's
thoughts are about
my
that.
perspective of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you have a tattoo then?
No, no. No mom tattoo. Sorry, mom.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
well, the other thing that I've observed
Mhm.
is my wife like has no problem telling her girlfriends, "I love you." Like they'd be like hanging out,
Yeah.
have lunch, and then that will be like the way they say goodbye to each other.
Yeah, I'm the
And
same way.
I always say like, "Wow, like that seems to me to be like a big thing to say," but they just say it like super casually all the time.
Yeah. I do
Like I
too.
would never hang out with one of my guy friends and use that as like the sign off.
Not unless you used "man" at the end and you'd had 3
Yeah,
drinks.
punch them or something other, right? I love you, and I punch you. That's the only socially acceptable way to do that as a man.
Do you think oh my gosh. Do you do you think that society is trying to change that at all?
I
'Cause
hope so.
but I don't know if it is, like, I know we're trying to change a lot of things, like all the conversation about millennials and, being
Mhm.
more in tune and saying how they think and feel more, and yet this particular thing, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
Mhm.
You asked something that I think is even more extreme than what we're talking about with our friends and the family. You said, "Can you say that at work?"
Oh, yeah,
Like,
right?
what? Pretty sure you can't.
Pretty sure you can. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I just now I'm getting now I've just got the giggles about all of this. I just am picturing you sitting in a bar and smacking somebody in the arm so hard you both fall off the
Yeah.
bar stools. And I'm trying to picture my husband in this conversation, and there's just absolutely no way. Absolutely not. Not happening. Not gonna do that at all.
No, he's not gonna next time I see him, he's not gonna tell me that.
No, and he
Oh.
won't tell me in public either.
Well, see? Right, so there
Yes.
again, that's a very closed like,
Yeah.
it's very closed around that couple of words.
Yeah.
I mean, not I mean, maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but there's a lot of resistance to saying,
Yeah.
"I love you."
What's really funny is and you were talking about, like, some of the reasons why, and I'm sure there's tons of psychological reasons that have been, studied ad nauseum.
Mhm,
But I just the ones that you kinda listed, you're like, I wonder if it's, like, cultural, like, where we live,
mhm,
and I will say that there is, a definite cultural difference between us and the UK, say, for
mm.
example. Like, my best friend lives over there, one of my best friends, and I will tell her I love her. And it just flat out throws her off.
Like, she just runs away.
She's just, like, totally flat-footed. She doesn't
Like
know what to think. It's like, "You just don't do that." Like, that's what she would say, right? It's like, "Oh, such an American,"
Right.
That's what she would say. And she's getting a little more used to it, and now if she's particularly weak or soft or emotional about
Mhm.
something, then she may slip it in there, but it's
Hmm,
very rare.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's
So,
very rare.
can we think of a different culture that we've visited that is much more free with saying
Yeah,
that phrase?
I think the Latino culture is more free in
Mhm.
expressing all of their feelings.
Mm.
Like, that just comes to mind immediately.
Yep.
I've had so many Latino friends that are dear, dear friends, and, yeah, just the level in which they are willing to express and accept others.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it could be cultural. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's like I want to put a pin in that for just a
Yes.
second.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh, I should just maybe I'll just send out an email to everyone at work that says I love you, and that's just it. Just like if I just put that in an email at work, is that okay?
Yeah, you know what's gonna happen? Everyone's gonna think you're dying.
Yeah, right. Oh no, that was
That was so weird of him. Something
so
must be
weird.
terribly wrong.
Just for the record, there are lots and lots of people that I work with every day that I love.
I know.
I'm not going to
I
name them
know.
by names because that
No.
would be super awkward. But if they're listening, you're one of them.
If they're listening, if you've made it through almost 100 podcasts with us and you're still listening, you're
Yeah.
definitely one of them.
Well, I don't know if I would be able to get our because to me, the number one thing
Mm-hmm.
in a work situation
Mm-hmm.
is safety, right? Is emotional safety. Not, I mean, we're
Yeah,
a
yeah.
software company. We don't need physical
Yeah.
safety.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
is providing emotional safety. To me, the number one test that it is an extremely emotionally safe place
Mm-hmm.
would be if I heard people telling them I love them, like they love each other at work. That would
Yeah.
be like an amazing litmus test
Yeah, wouldn't it?
of emotional safety.
Yeah. So I have a
Yeah.
question for you.
Okay.
Do you feel like because this is how we feel, that how do you feel parents bring the same kind of idea to their children? Do you think
Mm.
parents try to be different with their children as a result of how they are, even with this idea of
Oh.
love? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So part of that to me is like the generational cycle,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Like if you had parents that weren't very expressive,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally expressive, then it's likely that you're also not very emotionally expressive.
Or you do the
Or
opposite. Yeah.
you do the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Or you
exactly.
recognize that and you say, hey, I am going to be exactly different than that.
Yes. I
Right.
agree. I agree.
I'd say because generally our brains are running on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
unless we're very purposeful about changing that cycle,
Mm-hmm.
it just happens again. Right.
Yeah.
And
Y-
maybe not to such extreme, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, but
Yeah.
it just
We
kind of,
just don't notice.
you just don't notice because it's on autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when because my folks were split up, and so I wasn't with my dad very much, but my dad and I are like so similar. And my dad was not demonstrative or, effusive in his words at all. Like he was not comfortable saying he loved me when I was, in my teens and 20s and that sort of thing. But I actually made a decision. It was a very purposeful decision, speaking exactly what you're talking about now, that I was going to start telling him I loved him.
Mm.
And I didn't care if I heard that back. And I
Mhm.
wasn't doing it for any other reason other than I wanted him to know. And for a really long time, I would say that and he would never say anything back.
Mm.
And one day he said, I love you too. And
Mm.
I was blown away. I actually hung up and cried because I was like,
Wow.
wow, that was really intentional on his part. And you know
Yeah.
what? Now we say it every time we talk and hang up.
Wow.
It's like, but I didn't even think about that at first. It's like, because that was just his model when he was growing up.
Mhm.
That's just how it was. And he wasn't trying to be a certain way, good or bad. And I knew he loved me. There wasn't a question that I knew he loved me, but it was something about saying those words that really meant something to me.
Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I don't even think about it. Neither does he.
Yeah.
It's pretty
But
cool.
there was a period of time in that story where you were saying that and you weren't
Yes.
getting that back. So
Yep. Yes, for
you
sure.
probably had a lot of feelings
Mm-hmm.
during that part of the story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There's a lot of that whole parent-child thing as an adult child. There's
Mhm.
a whole bunch in this topic right here as it relates to I love you.
Of like that you referred to yourself as an adult child.
Yeah, I know. I'm I live in someone's basement and I play Pac-Man all day with a black concert t-shirt and a bunch of Mountain Dew. Culture Club.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I think that there's a whole bunch in there, and I would suggest, like if this conversation makes people a little uncomfortable, it might be because they don't want to be in a situation that they are with their parents
Yeah.
or something. It could be like,
Well,
that's interesting to think about.
yeah, here's what I want to talk about next with this topic
Yeah.
is like you might feel
Mm-hmm.
like you want to say I love you to somebody, right?
Yes.
Like your being, your gut,
Mm-hmm.
your soul says like I want to express that to this person because that's what they mean to me and I
Mm-hmm.
want them to know it.
Yeah.
And then our brain says, "Oh no, like that could be unsafe. You could be judged. You could, da da
Awkward.
da 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 da,"
Yeah.
right? Um, and then what happens is you violate your instinct, right?
Oh, what a word.
So that causes a problem
Mm.
because the more you can like go against
Mm-hmm.
or repress like what your sort of
Inner
like
being wants.
inner being
Mm.
wants, the worse it's going to get. And then you're going to start making up stories about
Mm.
why you're not saying it to that person. Like, oh yeah, but they don't want to hear it anyway, or like
Mm.
they're not really that important anyway, or actually now they don't
Mm.
really love them that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like you start making all of this stuff up,
Yeah.
which definitely has an effect on your energy and your relationships.
Mm-hmm. That's such a good call out. I think, like if you're in that situation and you want to be expressive of someone, I think that the key in all of this is what your expectation is
Mm,
as a result.
hmm.
Like if you set up your expectation, as I always say, expectation is resentment waiting to happen. My coach taught me that, and that is so true.
Hmm.
Expectation is simply resentment waiting to happen. So if we want to say, I love you to someone because we really truly want them to know and it would feel good in saying it, that's the reason that we do it. We wouldn't want to do it waiting for them to say it back or to feel
Hmm.
validated by what they responded to us with.
Yep.
I think
But that's
that's where
hard.
things get, yeah.
Yep.
Well, it can be hard, but it actually gets kind of easier. Like my
Mm,
one girlfriend that I was telling you, it's like, I've told her I loved her. I don't know, countless times. And I just like, for me, it's almost like I have this little, I'm wearing her down. She's going to get used to hearing that no matter what, because she never ever heard that as a child, not
mm,
once. She
yeah.
never heard that, not once. So when I said that to her, she was like, what? Like, it threw her off. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Okay. So you want to go eat? Like to me,
You just
right?
moved on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think it's kind of like in that expectation piece. It's like
Mm,
the reason needs to be pure and because
hmm.
it feels good in doing it, not because
Yep.
you expect something back.
Yep. Awesome. Good episode.
Such a,
Hey, Melissa,
hey, what?
I love you.
I love you too, JJ. See, was that so hard?
No. Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.